If you've ever been interested in VTuber lore videos, there's one dog in the back room who's controlling everything, whose handiwork you've probably been exposed to. A dog whose name is Merryweather.
My name is Mary, and I'm a dog. Woof.
Merryweather is a comic writer responsible for writing several different comics, as well as lore for several VTubers, as well as being a VTuber himself. As of February 2022, he's the head lore writer for VShoujo.
I'm also the official writer for VShoujo. I wrote the lore for Nyanas, Iron Mouse, Vebe, Zendrea, and Keisan, so I've written a lot of different things. I was also producer on Mori Calliope's Christmas special.
Long before he was a VTuber, Merryweather was a simple comic writer who managed to make it big through hard work and commissioning too many artists. Today we're going to cover the trials and tribulations of Lucius J. Merryweather and try to understand his struggles and what could be done to achieve something similar. 2017 was a hard year for Merryweather, and those troubles began with one name.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bad Unboxing Samurai Buyer Edition.
From 2015 to 2017, Samurai Buyer was a popular sponsor for unboxing and anime channels. Samurai Buyer is a website which promised Japanese goods easily shipped to the West. Nowadays, most who know of Samurai Buyer are aware that it wasn't the best website, as it withheld information about shipping costs and that it was run by a shady executive. But before the website's reputation was destroyed, Samurai Buyer was undergoing a massive push to sell goods in the West, an effort that was spearheaded by an individual known as Misaki. At some point between 2015 and 2017, Merryweather came to work for Samurai Buyer under Misaki as a social media manager. However, it didn't go very well, as on April 22, 2017, Merryweather posted a tweet longer exposing Misaki and Samurai Buyer for unethical business practices. At this point, a lot of the original content that exposed Misaki are gone, wiped from YouTube or Twitter. But the short version is that while working for Samurai Buyer, Merry created a new mascot, new company slogans, and increased Samurai Buyer's Twitter following from 1,000 to 14,000. And his reward was to be fired from Samurai Buyer, with the excuse that Merry had advertised his comic strips when he wasn't allowed to. Merry, however, claimed that he had been given permission to do so by Misaki himself. It was also proven that Misaki had a much greater understanding of English than he initially pretended to, as he had lived in Australia for some time. After the tweet longer exposing Misaki, Samurai Buyer lost any chance at having a larger consumer base in the West. Unfortunately, Merryweather, at the urging of Misaki, had moved to Japan, and since Misaki had unceremoniously fired Merryweather, that left Merry stuck in Japan with no ability to leave. Fortunately, Merry was able to crowdfund enough money to leave Japan. Although by summer of 2017 the Samurai Buyer incident was just about wrapped up, there was one other incident that emerged. In September 2017, Merryweather posted a new tweet stating that he was being harassed after having been scammed. The scammer in question was an individual who went by Chris King, aka Ping Pong Call. According to an interview between Merryweather and Robin E.K. of the Gamer Grounds, Chris initially approached Merry under the pretense of writing an article about the Samurai Buyer incident, pretending that he was a writer for Kotaku and similar websites. As a part of the deal, Chris asked if he could advertise his GoFundMe to help raise funds to fight his cancer. Unknown to Merryweather, Chris also reached out to Samurai Buyer, offering to represent them in court against Merryweather, all for the low fee of $1,000. Eventually, people began to suspect that Chris King was faking cancer, as King was unable to provide medical documents proving that he did in fact have cancer. One of these individuals was Merryweather. In response to Merry's questioning, Chris began to harass Merry in a variety of different ways. A friend of Chris was an admin in Merry's Discord server, so this admin and Chris sabotaged the server. Chris and his friends also started up a subreddit dedicated to harassing Merryweather and only offered to stop the harassment if Merry paid Chris an unknown monthly sum, which Merry did. However, eventually Chris pushed too far and Merry decided that it was better to post another expose on Twitter than to give in to Chris's demands. Although Merryweather did have a lot of problems in 2017, he was also quite successful at his dream of becoming a comic writer. Merryweather began publishing Winter Moon in July 2017. It's a comic written by Merryweather and drawn by Mayui. It's a story about a group of video game players, with the main characters being a gold-digging priestess named Grisa and a gay sorcerer named Florence, with the main source of comedy being the conflicts between their personalities. It starts off as a funny comic with both Risa and Florence fighting with each other over video game gold, before later going to some darker themes. As for how good it is, so far, reading Winter Moon has been a major distraction when it comes to trying to finish this script. A common misconception of Merry's work is that he is both the writer and the artist, which is not the case. Merryweather is only a writer, and he commissions artists to draw the comics he writes. Merryweather is the name of both an individual as well as a studio led by that individual. Merry himself often goes by Merryweather, while his comic studio is called Merryweather Media, a fact which does cause some amount of confusion. Merryweather the individual is known primarily for his writing skills, and because the name Merryweather is often better known than most of the artists' names, it's common for Merry and his team to use the name Merryweather to advertise his comics rather than use the artist names. Throughout 2018, Merryweather focused on making more comics. He worked with the artist Carolus and the YouTuber Lost Paws, also known as Noble, to create a webcomic called Fox Girls Are Better. The comic focuses on Noble as a protagonist, in a world where his mascot, the mechanic fox girl Lily, comes to life and isekais Noble into another world. Merryweather is also very well known for his short comics, of which there's a lot of variety. At some point, Merryweather felt the need to create short comics for the purpose of Twitter engagement and ensure that his social media content didn't dry up. Several of the comics were based on memes that were popular at the time. Many of his earlier short comics involved transforming non-human objects into anime girls, a trope known as gijinka, or moe anthropomorphism. Whether it was internet browsers, video game consoles, or anything else in the world that existed, Merryweather was very reliable at turning that thing into an anime girl.
Welcome to another episode of the Internet Dream Lounge. I'm your host, Mary, and with me as always, my trusty, ever-faithful co-host, ECK.
Besides comics, Merryweather's earliest foray into video making that I was able to find was the Internet Dream Lounge, which was a podcast started in 2018, hosted by both Merryweather and his friend EZK Beats. Easy seems to have since left the internet, and all episodes have been private since August 2020. Out of respect for the privatization, I'm going to keep coverage of the Internet Dream Lounge brief. According to the CWC or Quick Wiki, the premise of the show was to interview people with sizable audiences. And somehow this worked. Merryweather was able to get some big names onto his show, such as Noble from Lost Paws or Chris Chan, the creator of Sonichu. While the podcast was able to amass almost 5,000 subscribers, only 8 episodes were ever recorded. And if it weren't for the Chris Chan interview, knowledge of the Internet Dream Lounge probably would have fallen off the face of the earth. Starting in 2020, Merryweather Comics started to debut VTubers as a part of the company. The first to debut was Lumi, a Finnish wolf girl.
Hello everybody, my name is Lumi. I'm a wolf. Ahoo!
She debuted on August 14th, 2020, although her 2D model was revealed a month earlier in July. Merryweather debuted with a dog boy model in October 2020, 1 month after Hololife's Hollow Myth Wave and 1 month before competing company VShojo debuted. The Merryweather agency doesn't seem to operate as a traditional VTuber agency, instead acting more as a home for Merryweather's friends, although this statement is more my opinion based on observation rather than fact. As for Merryweather himself, he's known for his comfy atmosphere and ASMR voice. He also has a great sense of humor. From the clips I've seen, he's able to bounce off collab partners extremely well and is able to utilize multiple avatars to switch between personas. His usage of multiple avatars has also allowed him to collab with himself. So what is it that Merry has that makes him unique? I'd argue that it's his ability to network and make friends. Merry has a lot of high-profile friends, which is impressive because not everyone can get several people with millions of fans onto a podcast with no subscriber base. It's honestly impressive that Merry managed to get Lost Paws, Frederick Knudsen, Chris Chan onto the Internet Dream Lounge. Merry has also been known to work with prominent members of the VTuber industry as well, as he also became the lead lore writer for VShojo in February 2022, and he's worked with Mori Calliope in the past on some animated comics. He's even worked with some members of Niji Sanji's X Soleil group. Apparently, he was very helpful to the members of X Soleil. Merryweather only has a viewer average of about 400 on Twitch, marking him as a smaller large streamer, or maybe he's a medium-sized streamer, but I don't think the exact designation matters. People are more interested in Merryweather for his other skills besides his Vtubing. Many of his fans are interested in his comics, not his streams. The Merryweather media channels focusing on comics have over 1 million subscribers, while Merry's personal accounts only have 200,000 each. Also, given how Merryweather helps his peers in the VTuber scene, I speculate that Merry does a lot more behind the scenes than we currently know. In RPG terms, he may be a great support character, but not a frontliner.